Good evening and welcome. My name is Katie Thompson. I'm the Managing Director for Spokane Riverkeeper. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'd like to begin tonight with an acknowledgement of place and people. We recognize that we live and work on the unceded sacred homelands of the Spokane tribe, the Coeur d'Alene tribe, and the various Upper Columbia Plateau tribes that inhabited this region. Since time immemorial, these tribes have lived and cared for these grounds. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and future. We show gratitude to the land, to the river, to the peoples who have been fishing, hunting, gathering, harvesting here for generations. We give thanks to the legacy of the original people and their descendants to pledge honor to their stewardship and their values. We want to welcome all of you to this year's Spoken River. We know that the river is important to you, and we appreciate that you are here to celebrate, to protect, and to care for something that you love, that we love. We want to give thanks to the Convention Center and the amazing staff here for their help this evening at the event, and for Levi Restaurants for providing the lovely appetizers. We'd like to give a round of applause and thanks to our live music, the Salt Band, Scott Brownlee, and Bob Marlowe. We'd also like to say thank you to Kirsten Stobie. She was our live painter in the back. You can see her piece in progress. We would like to thank as well our event sponsors, our silent auction donors and participants, and you, our audience, for buying tickets and for showing up this evening. This year is all about the future. Our theme is an invitation to help us write the next chapter of the Spokane River. How do we protect it for future generations? How do we engage our community in knowing the river? What can we learn from the river? And how can we know what to pass on to our children and to our grandchildren? Before we begin, I'd like to invite Craig Hill to the stage. Craig is a member of the Spokane tribe of Indians and teaches Spokane Salish language. Craig?
Geschochol Petia, Chitapska Louis Quest, Chi Sin Jimenez Galiuch, U Chi Such in Kaluchtinum, Chi Such Mameum, Chi Such Yonunum, Tipani, Louis Skui, Margot Hill, Louis Sweeps Quests, Quent, Phyllis Wind, Louis Chiet, now Ida Pion, Louis in Tupia, Hoi, Quent, CP, Louis Neruya, Quent, Sadie Boyd, Louis Sweeps Quests, Chinlemt, Katiao Kal Aslialwa, Mil Kalams Tsuhoka and Twet, Klus Krat, Una, Shay Lemlem. That's a long-winded introduction. I'll try my best to translate it into English as best as I can. Like Katie said, my name is Craig Hill, Chitapska in Spokane Salish. My mother, as many of you may know, is Margot Hill. She couldn't be here tonight, so the River Keepers got their second best, me. But like I said, my mother's Margot Hill. Her mother was Phyllis Wynn, widely known as Phyllis Arlene, the Indian Queen. And then her mother was Ida Pion, and then she was a translator for chiefs. And then her mother was Sadie Boyd, who helped preserve the language that I speak today. When I introduce myself, I like to call upon my maternal lineage, because I come from a background of very strong women who have a huge impact not only for my community on the Spokane Indian Reservation, but also within our city of Spokane. So I am I speak Spokane Salish. I started learning about 4 years ago and have since been teaching it. And today what I wanted to do was share a couple of words in Spokane Salish for you all to give kind of some perspective for what the land means to us, what the land means to, what the water means to all of us, through a language that has been here since before any of us, and I think a language that can be shared by all of us because it's so powerful and descriptive and really gives perspective on what this land is. And so, as a Salish nerd, I will be asking you to kind of repeat after me with some of these words. It's just in my nature to be, as a teacher, to do so. But we'll try along together. And some of the words are difficult. Don't worry about butchering the language. I'd rather you butcher it than not speak it at all. So the one I always like to start with is thank you. In Spokane Salish, to say thank you, we say lemlemsh. So I'd like you all to repeat after me 5 times. So lemlemsh, 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 lemlemsh. Yes, thank you. And then the next word I wanted to share was our word for water. Our word for water, the root of it is so, which means to ask or to seek information, and then the suffix on it refers back to water. So our word for water means references the idea of asking the water for life. I'm sure you've all heard the term water is life. In Spokane Salish, our word for water calls back to that idea of we derive so much of our lives from water. And so I'll have you repeat after me again. This one is sawishku. 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 Una chest hayo chestin. You all sound very well. Thank you. So we'll do a couple more. So the next one is our word for salmon. It means many backs. It refers to that when salmon used to come up the river, there used to be so many of them that they would fill the river, and you could almost, as it's been said in the history books, walk across their backs to get across the river. So the word for salmon is simchlich. 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 Nice. You guys are going to be speaking Salish before you know it. The last one I'll leave you with is our word for the Spokane River, or the word for the city of Spokane. The root word of it is fast, and it means fast waters or rapids, and it refers to the Spokane Falls. And so this one's going to be a little bit harder, but I have faith in you all that we'll do great. So repeat after me. Skachetku. 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 Skachetqu. Skachetqu. Very good. And if any of you want, have any further questions or want to know or get a little bit more help on speaking the language, feel free to talk to me. It's my full-time job. That's why I'm here. And I hope that with these words that I've given you today, that it can help us bring into perspective what the water means to us, what salmon means to us, what this city means to us, and not just for us as Spokane Indians, but as people of the city of Spokane. So, lem lemsh, sheyuhoy.
Hello. I'm Jewel. I'm the water keeper here at the Spokane River Keeper. And this is Caitlin Scott, water protector. And you guys know Catherine Thompson, of course, already introduced herself. Thanks for the long-standing support of the river. We're here really to celebrate the river and protecting it. Who is this your first Spoken River? Raise your hand if it's your first Spoken. Whoa. Okay, who's been to 3 Spoken Rivers before? Who's been to 7? Nice. Who's been to dirty martinis for clean water? Oh. That was the precursor to Spoken River. It's fun.
This is counting over here.
Great. Well, we're here to celebrate the Spokane River as well. Who floated the Spokane this year? Who went fishing on the Spokane this year?
Oh.
Who caught a fish in the Spokane? I caught my first fish this year, I'm proud to say. So, thank you. Well, I'd like to point out our new tagline, Together for the River. We chose this because we wanted to recognize that we can't do our work without you, the community. We're in this work together, and we do it because we care about the river.
We'd also like to thank you all for being here tonight, and we want to make sure we thank some very special guests that are in the room with us. We have a number of elected officials here. We have 2 city council members in our room, Councilmember Paul Dillon and Councilmember Kitty Klitsky. And we also have... We'd also like to recognize a couple tribal council members that are in the room with us today. We have Spokane Tribal Council Member Monica Tenasket. And, there he is. And Coeur d'Alene Tribal Council Member Kaj Matheson. And we'd of course like to give a shout out to our staff and our leadership. I'd like to introduce you to our board of directors here at Spokane River Keeper. Please stand up when I say your name. First, our board chair, Heidi Lasher. Here. Our vice chair and treasurer, Nathan South. Back in the back over there. And Secretary Chastity Kolb. We have board member Kendra Jones. Bob Bartlett. Deanna Camp. And finally, Bart Mihailovich. Thank you to our incredible board. We're so appreciative for your support and everything that we do. We'd also like to thank Liv Kindle, our River Cleanup and Outreach Program lead. Where'd she go?
And we'd be remiss to not give thanks to our incredible event committee members who really brought this evening to us. They may not be in the room right now, but I would like to give a special thanks to Regan Farmer, Deanna Camp, Bob Bartlett, Patty Kraft, Chastity Kolb, Kendra Jones, and Heidi Lasher. Thank you for the countless hours you've put into making this evening happen. We'd also like to acknowledge our past board members, Joshua Abel and Patty Gates. We would not be here without your enormous support today, so thank you.
Last year, we introduced this new leadership team here for Spokane River Keeper. This year, we want to tell you what we've been doing, what we've achieved, and where we want to go next. We'd like to start by sharing this video from our longtime collaborator, Cutboard Studios, that's put together.
The Spokane River is more than a body of water. It's a life source, a place for reflection, connection, and action. At Spokane River Keeper, our mission is to protect, preserve, and restore the river for future generations. And in 2024, we unveiled our new strategic plan to take us forward.
The plan is a four-pillar approach beginning with protect. At Spokane River Keeper, we enforce water policies, report violations, and when necessary, litigate to ensure the river is clean and healthy. Recently, we fought for stricter industrial permit compliance, resulting in a $151,000 settlement to restore fish habitats with the Coeur d'Alene tribe. We also helped pass a drought response plan for the city of Spokane, ensuring sustainable future for our water resources. We protect this river because it sustains all life along its path. Clean water, healthy ecosystems, and thriving aquatic communities are the foundation of a vibrant Spokane River corridor.
Our second pillar is connect. We bring people together through science, education, and volunteerism to foster a deep connection with the river. Through community-led studies, we've trained volunteers to collect over 500 water samples per year to better understand turbidity in Hangman Creek. And with our crayfish collection events, we teach participants about the river's ecosystems while contributing to crucial mercury studies. We believe that by connecting more people to the river, we inspire a love and responsibility for it. As one of the last wild places in our city, the Spokane River offers all of us a chance to reflect on our connection to nature. Our third pillar is restore. In partnership with volunteers and local organizations, we've removed over 60,000 pounds of trash from the river and planted 6,000 trees to restore riparian habitats. We also work to support strong water quality limits on toxic pollutants like PCBs. Restoration is about ensuring the Spokane River can thrive for the fish, wildlife, and people who depend on it. Together, we're helping to recover native salmon, trout populations, and improve water quality for all.
The final pillar is listen. We recognize that the Spokane River holds different meanings for different people. Whether it's a place for solitude, recreation, or cultural connection, we honor those relationships. By listening to our diverse communities, we ensure that our work reflects their values and dreams for a healthy river. We're here to amplify voices, learn from each other, and build a future where the river can continue to nourish all who come to its banks. With these 4 pillars, we'll continue our journey with the Spokane River. It's a shared responsibility, and we invite you to join us. Together, we can ensure the Spokane River remains a source of life, beauty, and connection for generations to come.
I hope you learned a little bit about what we do and how we operate here at Spokane River Keeper. Now we'd like to share some more details about what we've accomplished this year and where we hope to go.
Thanks to an innovative model of co-leadership that started almost a year ago today, we set a foundation for growth.
Protecting the Spokane River isn't all fun and games and floating and fishing, though we do that too, and we use that as a tool as well. We asked the community to help us protect the river. This year, we've trained 26 volunteers to help us report pollution, and we've responded to 23 different pollution complaints.
We've shared our work to the public through 34 news pieces and wrote 2 guest opinions. Thank you, Caitlin, for that. We've led 2,300 volunteers in our litter program. Thank you, Liv, that participated in 110 river cleanups. We've educated 1,100 community members and students on the river in classrooms and at conferences, and reached another 2,000 at events. We believe that a healthy river with robust protections starts with the community. And at the core of the community are our youth. That's why we've continued our weekly lessons with the Salish School in the spring, helping to develop our place-based education program, which will use the river as an educational tool, and we'll expand that to schools throughout Spokane.
Behind the scenes, we've advocated for long-term river protections in the local comprehensive planning process. We're working with waterkeepers nationwide to advocate for stronger protections from emerging contaminants like PFAS and 6-PPD quinone. As members of the Waterkeeper Alliance, we're part of a global movement united for clean, healthy, and abundant water for all people and the planet. We believe that as members of this movement, we're stronger together when we lift up each other's voices and the voices of the communities we serve.
And I wanted to tell you about an innovative approach to homelessness that helps clean the river of trash. With partners SNAP, CHAZ, and Frontier Behavioral Health, we float the river and offer vital medical and housing services to those living on the riverside while removing the bagged trash. This program effectively removes a major pollutant to our river while providing life-saving services. We're proud to say we've collected 120 full bags from this program in 15 outreach floats. But more importantly, we're connecting people with housing services and vital medical services along the river. This is a hard job, and this work could not have been accomplished without a river cleanup and outreach lead, Liv. Thank you, Liv.
We will continue to watchdog permit holders, fight for stronger protections for a cleaner river, and advocate for climate-resilient solutions to protect our water supply. We work hard to ensure that laws that protect our river are both enacted and enforced with the full support of the impacted communities. By addressing issues from pollution to climate change, we use firsthand knowledge of the river to ensure that polluters are held accountable, industry is pushed to more protective standards, and local governments plan responsibly for an abundant supply of water in our aquifer and the river. While the next few years may bring some new challenges, we will remain committed to listening to our communities, elevating the voices of the voiceless, and protecting our river.
Yeah. Next year. Yeah. Next year, we hope to grow our education and riparian restoration programs, and then we'll continue expanding our outreach through community science and volunteerism on the river, connecting even more people with a cleaner river that supports the tribal reintroduction of salmon in the basin.
We envision a future with the Spokane River where wild native fish thrive, pollution is eliminated, and the community is engaged in the river's protection.
And we're so glad that you're here to help with the mission and work towards that future. Thank you. All right, next up is Heidi Lasher, Board President.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here tonight. When I was invited to do the ask, I didn't realize that tonight was happening 2 days after the election, and then when I found out, I kind of regretted saying that I would do the ask because I didn't know what the feeling in the room would be, and I ended up finding my way by going to the theme of this event, which is to help us write the next chapter. And this to me is such a future-oriented theme. And it's a theme that calls us to our imaginations. Last week, I was listening to the writer and community organizer, Adrienne Marie Brown. And she spoke about something she calls radical imagination. She said, "We are living inside of imaginations that other people told us were true." Over the past several months and years, I've been given a lot of tools to help me imagine a dire and unbearable future. I'm constantly reminded of how bad things are, how much worse they're going to become, and how powerless I am to change the outcome. It's become rather easy to imagine a future that I don't want to live in and that I'm sad to leave for my children. It's also become rather difficult to imagine a beautiful and life-affirming future, one where we live harmoniously with our neighbors, where every weather event is not a harbinger of climate chaos, and where the air is clean enough to breathe and the water is clean enough to drink. Just saying that out loud makes me feel naive, as if my desires are impractical or unreasonable. A voice inside my own head tells me that my ideas, while nice, will never come to be. But isn't a more beautiful future what we want for our children and our children's children? Can we deliver on that future by scaling back our dreams to fit within the boundaries of what is possible, probable, or reasonable? In the words of scholar and organizer Walida Imarisha, you can't build what you can't imagine. And so we absolutely need imaginative spaces that allow us to throw out everything we've told is possible and root instead in what we want to bring into being, rather than what we're told we can realistically have. Since the first dam was erected on the Spokane River, Native people in our regions have continued to call the salmon home. They never stopped envisioning a future where salmon would return to this river to spawn. For decades, this vision was dismissed as naive, wishful thinking, but now there is a plan, there's funding, and most importantly, there's inspiration. Because they dared to imagine it, I dare to imagine it too. Because they imagined it, their vision is starting to become a reality. The Spokane Riverkeeper has a vision too. In the future that we want to create, wild native fish thrive in the basin, pollution is eliminated, and the whole community is committed to the river's protection. All of us here tonight are being given an opportunity to imagine a new and better future. In 7 generations, I hope my descendants will find themselves here on Earth, not in a spaceship far, far away. Right? Those who make a home in Spokane, I hope will find the water cold and the air clear. I hope they will see salmon spawning in the river. I hope they will paddle the river in a canoe and look for painted turtles, great blue herons, and beavers. Maybe the water will be clean enough that they can drink from it like the deer and moose do. According to my favorite fundraising activist, Lynn Twist, money moving in the direction of our highest commitments nourishes our world and ourselves. Money carries our intention, and if we use it with integrity, it carries that integrity forward. So, when we thought about how to describe tonight's fundraising goal, we decided to do a little math, and we took the portion of our annual budget that we raised from the community, not including grants, and divided it by all the river miles in the watershed that we protect. This gave us the amount of money it takes for the community to protect 1 mile of river, which is $1,347. We've raised some money already this year, and tonight we're trying to close the gap and protect the last 30 miles of river. I'm going to hand the microphone over to our auctioneer, Matt, and he's going to guide us through a paddle raise. And I hope you will join me in imagining the world you want your loved ones to live in and offering your money toward that vision. Thank you.
Hey folks, I think the future looks bright tonight. You know why? Because all of you are here, and you obviously showed up because you care about our river and you want things to be better. So thanks for attending the Spoken River event tonight. You're going to hear some awesome readings here in a little bit. I'm so excited for you guys to hear them. I just want to thank you for showing up, to allow us the opportunity to make the future bright, to help native fish thrive, to have clean rivers, and a place where the community is engaged in helping in that process. Folks, we are trying to get this last 30 miles of the river funded tonight with your help, and I think we can do it. I think we can do it. So let's all join together. Let's all tag up. Let's all team up. I'm going to ask kind of at a bold level, and I'm going to get down to a level that I hope that every person in this room gets engaged. So help me out. Help me out. When we get to that level that feels right to you, just raise that card. Just raise that card. Who would be so bold tonight to kick us off? We're doing this in the honor of the Chinook salmon. This is our $5,000 level. Who would kick us off at $5,000 tonight? So boldly raise that card. 145 for $5,000. Check this out, folks. Leave those cards up. 365 for $5,000. Thank you. 306 for $5,000. 272 for $5,000. 192 for $5,000. Give all those $5,000 donors a great big round of applause. We're kicking it off right. You guys are doing it. That's excellent. Tonight, our theme is Together for the River. And you guys are together for the river tonight, I can tell. Who would so boldly raise their card for $2,500? Was your raise your card right now for $184 for a $2,500 gift? Very, very good. This is in honor of our red band, the red band trout. Who else for a $2,500? Look at the cards coming. 311 for $2,500. Thank you so much. 312 for $2,500. Great work, great work. Anybody else? Anybody else? Give those $2,500 donors a great big round of applause. Spokane River Keepers from the Lake Coeur d'Alene all the way to Columbia. There are many more miles than the 30 miles that we're talking about tonight, but you guys are helping us get there. And 1 mile of the river equals $1,347. If that's you tonight, you want to put your stamp on your mile, we would ask you to raise your card for $1,347. Let's see a bunch of cards in here. 264, thank you for that gift. 276, thank you. 247, thank you. 395, thank you. 143, thank you. 148, thank you. I believe I got 397. But just in case, 231, thank you. 332, thank you. Who else for that $1,347 gift? Putting your stamp on a mile of the river. Who else? Who else? Give all those donors a great big round of applause. Very nice work. Let's do a half a mile together. That would be $673. If you say you want to put a stamp on a half a mile tonight, raise that card for $673. Here they come. Bidder number 110. Thank you. Bidder number 157. Thank you. Bidder number 343. Thank you. 367. Thank you. 373. Thank you. Look at the cards. 128. Thank you. 168. Thank you. Bidder number 131. Thank you so much. 135. Thank you. 368. Thank you. Bidder number 340. Thank you. Bidder number 350. Thank you. Bidder number 214. Thank you. Bidder number 294. Thank you. Anybody else for a $673 gift? I misspoke. $673 gift for a half a mile. For a half a mile. Anybody else? Give all them a great big round of applause. Folks, we are restoring water quality tonight in the river with your help, with your dollars, with the education to our community, and what we are accomplishing in here tonight. You guys are doing a tremendous job, so thank you so much. We are going to the $250 level. This is honoring the crayfish tonight. Who would give a $250 gift? Let's see a bunch of cards. Bidder number, look at that. Here they come. 319, 183, 185. Thank you. 205. Thank you. 278. Thank you. 176. Thank you, ma'am. I believe I got you. You were the very first one to call out. 396. Thank you. 228. Look at the cards. My goodness. 232. Thank you. 121. Thank you. 313. Thank you. You guys are wearing me out. 130, thank you. 277, thank you. 282, thank you. 118, thank you. 218, thank you. 215, thank you. 317, thank you. 315, thank you. 163, 325, my goodness. Number 400, I'm coming to this side, I'm going to get you folks. 190, thank you. 333, thank you. 337, thank you. 310, thank you. 245, thank you. 291, thank you. 274, thank you. Bidder number 197 in the middle of the room, thank you. 225, thank you. 144, thank you. 372, thank you. 273, thank you. 263, thank you. 375, thank you. 159, thank you. 165. Anybody else for $250? That was a lot of folks. Give them a great big round of applause. Nice work. We're going to play a little game here in a minute called Last Paddle Battle. But before we do that, I'm going to ask for a $150 gift. This is honoring the stonefly under the water. This is honoring them, the $150 gift. This would be about $12.50 a month. A $150 gift to Spokane River Keepers right now. You know, my script says $150. What is it, ladies? $150, so pay no attention to that screen. We're elevating right now. We're elevating. $150, about $12.50 a month. If that's you, look at the cards as they go up. Let's get it done right now. 324, thank you. Right up front. 347, thank you. 170, 331, 102, 391, 179, 361, thank you. 346, thank you. 252, thank you. 394, thank you. 147, thank you. 160, thank you. 321, thank you. 162, 352, 353, thank you. 136, 268, that's 268. Bidder number 281, thank you. Number 339, thank you. 299, thank you. 219, thank you. 177, thank you very much. 213, thank you very much. 153, thank you very much. Over here, bidder number 169 for that $150 gift. Am I missing anybody? You guys are getting it done. You're believing in this community and making this river a cleaner, safer, better place for all species, including us. Give yourselves a great big round of applause. Tremendous job. Wow. Hey, this is kind of fun. We're going to play what's called Last Paddle Battle. And you have a chance tonight for a 2-night stay at the River House with $1 million views. It's on your screen right there. This is from Dave Jackson. Can we give Dave a round of applause for donating this? 3-bedroom house in West Central on the Spokane River. Sleep 6. Also 1-day inner tube float. 4 bikes and helmets are there for your use. 6 gift cards coming from Kendall Yards. And that book you saw out there earlier from Greg Gordon, you're also going to get a copy of that to go home tonight. So how this is going to work, I'm going to ask you to play this game. And you have to be the last paddle in the air. That's why it's called the Last Paddle Battle. If you raise your card for $50, is what we're going to ask, and you're not the last paddle in the air, we're still going to charge you $50. If you do it 10 times and you're not the last paddle in the air, we're still going to charge you $500. The goal is that you have to be the very last paddle in the air in order to win. So please play. Please help us raise a lot of money. Let's have some fun right now. Who would give $50 for this awesome little vacation package? For the chance that you might win, 166 is in the lead. 218 is in the lead. 163 is in the lead. 325 has just knocked him out. 270 is in the lead. 399 is in the lead. 241 is in the lead. 145 just took the lead. 287 just took the lead. 311 is staying in this beautiful home with all these great views unless somebody knocks them out for $50. 287 going again, and 210 has knocked them out. 210 is in the lead to stay in this beautiful home for this vacation. 171 just knocked them out. 171. 132 is now in the lead. 163 giving again. 163 is now in the lead at $50. 163 now. 171 is now in the lead. 171 going. 287's back. 287 now going once. 319 has knocked him out, and 345 is now in the lead. 345 going. 311 has knocked him out. 311 is in the lead at $50. 311 going once. 172 has knocked him out, and then 396 has knocked him out. 396 now going once. 396 now going twice. 368 has taken the lead, and 163 is giving again. And 287 and 114 now in the lead. That's 114 now in the lead. 114 going. 138 just knocked him out. 138 now going once. 138 now going twice. 138. 367 in the lead. 319. 345, 114, 163 just knocked you all out again. 138 is coming in there. 138 now going once. 138, number 380 has taken the lead, and now number 114 has taken the lead. 114 now going once. 114 now. 287's taking the lead, and 312 just knocked him out. 312 now going once. 312 now going. 114 has taken the lead again. Okay, we're going to raise the ante. If you put your card up now, it will cost you $100. 114 says, I'm going to knock myself out. 114 at $100 now going once. 114 now going twice. 114 and it is. 113 has knocked him out. And 163 is back again. You really want this package, don't you? You need some views of the river, don't you? 163 now going once. 163 now going. 114 is back again. Thank you, 114. 114 now going once. 114 now going twice. And I have 396 is back. Was that 148, sir? 148. 163? 163 is back again. 163 now going once. 114 is back again. You ladies are battling it out. 114 now going once. 114 now going twice. 114 and I have sold. 114 is taking that package home. Folks, you have been excellent tonight. Thank you for caring about our community and our rivers and our invasive species. You guys are just awesome. You really did a great job tonight. We're going to get on with the rest of our program. And to help me do that is one of your Spokane's very own Riverkeeper board members, Mr. Bob Bartlett. Bob, you ready? Come on down, sir. Thanks for letting me be a part of this tonight. You guys are awesome. Here's Bob.
So greetings. I am Bob Bartlett, the proud second son of the late Walter Taylor Bartlett Sr. and the very much still alive Frances Bartlett, my mother who turned 101 2 weeks ago. My people are river people. 4 generations of my family before me lived out their lives on the banks of or near the same river. Nowadays, I consider myself a storyteller who's learning to write about people and rivers. I am blessed to have a chapter in Paul Lindholtz's 2018 book titled The Spokane River, along with Heidi, and a chapter in Greg Gordon's book, 2024 book, Rewilding the Urban Frontier. So again, with Heidi. Tonight, I have the privilege to introduce 5 very special human beings who are helping to write the next chapter on urban rivers, and specifically our beloved Spokane River. So our first speaker is Greg Gordon. Greg Gordon was born at the junction of Cherry Creek and the South Fork of the Platte River, and spent much of his adult life living along the Clark Fork and Dearborn rivers. He now lives a short walk from the confluence of Hangman Creek and the Spokane River, and is a professor of environmental studies at Gonzaga University. He is the editor of Rewilding the Urban Frontier, River Conservation in the Anthropocene, which is available tonight to purchase while supplies last. Are they lasting?
Oh yeah, there are plenty out there.
Okay. You're not supposed to say that. While supplies last, and the proceeds of those sales go to the Spokane Riverkeeper. Please welcome Greg Gordon.
Thanks, Bob, and thanks everybody for coming out on a beautiful evening. I've been asked to. I have 5 minutes, right? So I'll try not to rush through this. This is from the introduction to the book, Rewilding the Urban Frontier, which I'd be happy to talk about with anybody at another time if you're interested in how that book came to be. So this is a story about a river, or rather many rivers. It could be any river, really. It could even be your river. The river was once chock full of salmon, fish so abundant that native peoples of many tribes gathered by the hundreds to harvest fish, hold ceremonies, conduct marriages, exchange goods, and forge friendships and alliances. Not only did the river contain fish, it also housed beavers, especially in the tributaries. Beavers, in turn, attracted fur trappers, who, while transient, radically changed the ecosystem by removing said beavers. Other Euro-Americans recognized the power and opportunity of falling water and built sawmills while staking out a town site. In the broad valleys, settlers tapped the rivers for irrigation, building canals and diversions to water crops and orchards. Railroads followed the river valleys and conveniently placed their switching yards and warehouses in the middle of town near the river. Dependent upon rail transportation, other industries followed. With the advent of electrical power at the dawn of the 20th century, investors built dams across the narrow gaps in the canyon for hydroelectric plants. These dams dramatically altered the river's hydrology, ended the salmon runs, and trapped toxic waste from upstream mines. By the mid-20th century, the river had become an open sewer. The city's industrial core featured mills, factories, warehouses, stockyards, and rendering plants, all strung out along the river, flushing industrial waste and toxins from mining, agriculture, industry, and municipal systems. The 1970s marked a dramatical environmental turn as people began to recognize the value of the river and initiated ambitious cleanup programs. The city remade the industrial downtown, ripped up rail yards, tore down warehouses, and created public parks and walkways. Before long, the river was a source of civic pride. With the help of the 1972 Clean Water Act and other environmental laws, the public began to push for better water quality, habitat protection, and recreational access. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because it's the same story across much of the United States. Urban rivers reflect our changing relationship with the natural world, from abundance to abuse and exploitation to neglect to beautification. While this river story has generally been a narrative focused on human values, a biocentric view is now emerging. Ushering in a new era of river restoration, in 1992, Congress passed legislation to remove 2 dams on the Elwha River in Olympic National Park. 20 years later, these dams finally came down, and the Elwha has largely returned to its pre-settlement conditions with braided channels, active sediment transport, and most importantly, the return of salmon runs. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, in 1997, FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the agency in charge of relicensing dams, ordered the removal of the Edwards Dam on the Kennebec River, the first time the agency had taken such action. 2 years later, the dam came down, and the river's aquatic life quickly rebounded with Atlantic sturgeon, alewives, and even seals swimming up from the ocean. Water quality improved as well, and the residents of Augusta, Maine rediscovered their river. The age of urban river restoration had begun. In addition to the physical restoration of hydrological function through dam removal, the 21st century has witnessed significant citizen engagement, and that's you guys, with local watersheds, a recognition of the importance of aquatic biodiversity, urban revitalization, and the implementation of forward-thinking legislation. All of these factors have coalesced to begin the recovery of America's rivers. At the same time, the challenges for recovery are daunting. America's rivers have been dammed, diverted, channels dewatered, and polluted. In short, urban rivers are the most abused, neglected, and damaged ecosystems in the country. And yet, the wildest places in the city tend to be along these very same rivers and creeks, where the rivers offer crucial wildlife corridors and connectivity to core conservation areas, such as state parks and national forests. Ironically, our post-industrial urban landscapes offer significant potential for ecological recovery and could potentially forestall the impending ecological crisis. At the breaching of the Edwards Dam in 1999, then Secretary of Interior Bruce Babbitt, a river advocate who proudly presided over the dismantling of multiple dams, stated, quote, "Rivers flow through our lives. They flow through the lives of generations. Rivers flow from the past, bringing memories and associations rich in meaning. And of course, rivers are also flowing into the future." Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Our next reader is Mark Fritt. While serving in the U.S. Army, Mark discovered fly fishing while backpacking and mountain climbing in the Cascades. Soon enough, those mountaineering trips turned solely into fly fishing adventures. Mark is a fly fishing guide and published fly fishing author and photographer. His work can be found in multiple journals and magazines, including the Fly Fish Journal, the Drake, American Fly Fishing, the Backcountry Journal, Fly Culture, Gray's Sporting Journal, and Greg's Sporting Journal. He's currently working on a book about urban fly fishing that will soon be out there. So please welcome Mark Fritt.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening. My name is Mark Fritt. I'm a writer, photographer, and fly fishing guide here in Spokane. Over the past year, I've been working on a book about urban fly fishing, aimed at equipping people with the knowledge, resources, and inspiration to connect with their local urban waters. To create this book, I've traveled across the country, meeting with urban anglers and fishing alongside them in their urban ecosystems. Fishing in cities is not a new concept, but what's emerging now is a groundswell of passionate and dedicated anglers redefining what it means to live, recreate, and connect with nature in urban settings. This movement is quietly growing beneath our feet. In the photo above, Brandon Dale is fly fishing for carp under a bridge in New York City. Brandon is the first licensed fly fishing guide for Central Park and is on a personal mission to show that nature never really left the city. Here in Spokane, under our very own Monroe Street Bridge, local anglers like Ethan Crawford have been finding joy and connection in the very urban waters that flow in our own community. So while you're commuting, people are down there fishing for our red band trout. Urban fishing isn't just about individual experiences, it's about community. In this photo, It is a birthday party in downtown Los Angeles for Kesley Gallagher. It is a birthday party that was brought together not by cake, but by the shared joy of fishing. Urban waters are becoming a place where families, friends, and even strangers bond over the shared love of casting a line. And here's that fish that brought that birthday party together, the common carp. I know, it's a lovely face. While carp are invasive in North America, in many degraded urban waters, they are often one of the few species left. They provide people with a direct connection to nature and the thrill of a challenging catch. Here in Denver, Nick Hall can attest to how rewarding it is to catch one of these powerful fish. Urban anglers are also helping to recognize and celebrate the biodiversity that persists in our cities. In this photo, Jennifer Xia in downtown Minneapolis proudly holds a wild native smallmouth buffalo, a species often dismissed as a trash fish. These fish migrate in huge numbers, much like the salmon here in the Pacific Northwest, underscoring how even our urban waters hold natural wonders worth protecting. Here's a glimpse into the future of urban fishing. In this photo, we see Colton, 9 years old, learning from his father, Nate McCord, as they fly fish together next to the discharge of a wastewater treatment plant. As more people embrace urban fly fishing, the lines between what is wild and what is human-made are blurring, expanding our definition of nature and challenging who we think fly fishing is for and where it can be enjoyed. Thank you.
Can't wait to read that one. Our next reader, Heidi Lasher. Heidi Lasher began floating rivers in inner tubes, gradually moving on to cheap plastic kayaks, rubber rafts, and wooden canoes. She holds master's degrees in public administration and nonfiction writing. She spends her time writing, consulting, parenting teenagers, and scheming her next river trip. Her nonfiction essays have appeared in numerous journals and magazines. Please welcome Heidi Lasher.
Hello again. This is an excerpt from a piece called A Fool in Love. Several years ago, almost without warning, I fell in love with a river. I had been acquainted with the river for many years, fished it a few times, and visited the falls downtown. But I hadn't developed any profound interest in it until I started biking alongside it and stopping to snap pictures of it. Then when I wasn't near the river, I scrolled through those pictures I had taken, read books and scholarly articles about the river, and studied maps to get a sense for it. I began to seek physical contact with the river, to float on it and test its temperature, smell it, and listen to it. I wanted to drag my fingers along its surface on a lazy afternoon. I yearned to experience the cold spring flood and feel it slice through me. I could not explain this urge. It felt involuntary and strange, like the craving for dirt and chalk that some women feel in pregnancy. I have no formal qualifications to make me an expert on rivers. I've always enjoyed being around water, but that doesn't explain why this body of water caught my attention. It may have just been timing, a confluence of events. In the spring of 2018, my son's fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Bradley, asked me if I would ask my husband to teach an environmental lesson at the annual school campout on Coeur d'Alene Lake, just over the state line in Idaho. On one level, the request was reasonable. Mrs. Bradley knew that my husband had once been a middle school science teacher and that he had a long background in conservation. But on another level, the request irked me. I had already agreed to physically be there. True, I lacked the environmental teaching background of my husband, but how hard could it be? I felt that I should teach the lesson myself and said as much to Mrs. Bradley. I spent the next several weeks in a spiraling panic over what to teach, finally developing the vague notion that I might introduce the students to their local watershed, an area of land I hadn't myself bothered to get to know. I consulted maps and lesson plans, and then at the last minute begged my husband to come help me. And on the designated day, we stood on a beach on Coeur d'Alene Lake in front of several groups of 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. We asked them a simple question: what is a lake? We were met with blank stares. The lake loomed only a few feet behind us, and several of them pointed this out to us. We then asked them to describe a lake, to name its features and shapes. We asked how lakes are formed and how they're filled and kept fresh. We wondered if anyone knew the names of the rivers that filled and drained the lake we stood beside. Did anyone know the names of the mountains that fed those rivers? When the kids were satisfied with their answers, we told them that they had just described the local watershed. Then we handed over shovels and buckets and invited them to build a replica of it on the beach, piling up sand for the Bitterroot Mountains, digging a hole for the lake, and cutting 2 river systems between them, the Coeur d'Alene River System to the north and the St. Joe River System to the south. When they were done, we draped the whole affair in plastic and let them make rain, pouring watering cans over the landscape until the rivers ran with water, the lake filled its basin, and spilled over to form a new river. This river, we told them, was the one that ran through the city, our city, the Spokane. The kids gasped with excitement. They knew the Spokane River, and now they knew something new about it. The air tingled with possibilities. We pulled back the curtain on an everyday miracle. When the day ended, I lay down on my narrow bunk bed and reoriented my mental map. The interstate, state borders, county designations, city boundaries, roads, streets, they all fell away like flimsy ideas, faded artifacts from another time. Beneath them, I saw a landscape defined by gravity, mountain ridges and granite outcroppings, the folds and clefts of the land, the paths of least resistance, the places where water ran freely, circuitously, organically, from sky to sea. Like a puzzle piece, I fit myself onto the land, and for the first time, I understood that the basic architecture of place was formed by, is defined by, and is sustained by water. Thank you.
Our next is Mary Smith. Mary Smith is Spokane's 5th Poet Laureate. She is a storyteller and story holder who's working to bring poetry into spaces we wouldn't otherwise consider poetic. Mary's work has been featured in publications around the inland Northwest, as well as online at picturesofpoets.com and the published anthologies Listen to Your Mother, What She Said Then, What We're Saying Now, and Pivot and Pause, a poetry anthology of resilience, remembrance, and compassion. Please welcome Mary Smith.
I had forgotten it was his birthday. Spent months prior to that day rehearsing what I thought I did wrong. Why'd he leave? As kids, we played on the Columbia the way most people use sidewalks. We fashioned rafts and fishing lines, built fortresses in the pines, and planned to live the rest of our days in that regatta. Calls from prison come in as 1866 and JPay and Brown Street on your caller ID. I remember asking him once if it was allowed, me picking him up from work and driving him back to jail, but it wasn't called jail. It was called work release, and no, it wasn't, but I would go to jail one more time if I could be with my baby brother and have another ride under the pale night sky and water in my ears from the two of us singing. My fishing guide hands me a coffee and a bag of pumpkin donuts. The dough is still warm. The cinnamon and sugar dust my palm like evidence of sandcastles. Coffee is black, enough cream in the sky for one day. My fishing guide is also my friend, and so he laughs at me as I aim one tennis shoe at a time into his boat. I haven't been on the river in years, and we didn't come here to fish. We came to the river for a moment of peace. 6 months ago, I say to him, yeah, take us out sometime, maybe for his birthday or something, I don't know. The phone hasn't rang in weeks. Release me, I say, to some God I hope is still listening. These past few months, I have waged war on the internal landscape of my mind. No fields of poppies, only landmines and distant bagpipes. Today, though, I accept the call, the offer for one last run on the river. On the river that day, sober and sobbing, I think I might want to die, I say. Or is it that I am so very tired and as lonesome as they come? Who's to say? I snort. The river replies with a steady calm, a generous host, every guest, even my grief and honor. I tell my friend around every bend that this is my favorite part of the river. Oh my gosh. What? No, this one. And I mean it repeatedly. Where it is serene and bare-heeled, where it is rough and exposed, there is a part of me that remembers home, remembers that I too am river. Watch nameless creatures breathe magic into my real-life Tuesday, inconsequential save for I have never seen a more exotic bird in my life. Where are we? What flies higher than a bird? Name a taller building than God, then that bird is a god or heron. I stamp my feet in the boat because my guide is calling out names of animals and fish I do not recognize as anything other than my friends. Almost in applause, the fish start jumping. And then it happened. Like snow landing on your shoulder. I know what today is. It is September 24th, the day my little brother was born. And I know why I am here and why it is that I will stay. Thank you.
Next is Kaj Matheson. Kaj is a councilman for the Coeur d'Alene tribe, where he helps set policies for nearly 400,000 acres in northern Idaho. He also serves as the director of the tribe's Department of Natural Resources, overseeing various programs related to natural resource management. Matheson represents the tribe in multiple political and legal forums. Growing up on the reservation, he learned about the Coeur d'Alene culture and the importance of stewardship. He holds degrees in biblical leadership and organizational sciences. After 20 years in the private sector, he joined the tribe in 2012 and became the Director of Natural Resources in 2017. He lives on the reservation with his wife of 27 years. Please welcome Kaj Matheson.
Chesed Queets, everybody. It's my honor to be here tonight at the Spoken River Forum. I really appreciate it. I was thinking about it earlier. It's a great place to be, the way that the organization has developed and grown and really developed relationships and reached out to tribes, I think has been really critical for us in our relationship moving forward. Although I will also admit, though, I was a little disappointed when I found out there was an option to be at a dirty martini party. So I would have been telling stories there all night long. So not just one story, but no, I think that's really important. So I'm going to tell a story, one of our oral stories, And I think why those things are so critical are because Craig had done a great job earlier talking about kind of the presence of language and culture and those kinds of things. We're talking about stories that have been here for tens of thousands of years, really describing this land and the interaction of these lands and the interaction of animal peoples with these lands in a really good and harmonious way. And I think embedded in so many of these things are values in a culture that sometimes are obvious, but sometimes are yet to be found and discovered. So I think as we all try to reach out and figure out how we can be best supportive of this river moving forward that we all love, looking to some of these stories and seeing how it was done for thousands upon thousands of years is a really important step. And so I kudos again to Spokane River Keepers for inviting tribes and building the relationship with us. So last time I was here, it wasn't at this particular event, but this building, I told the story about how the Spokane Falls came to be, and it's a very awesome story. I just didn't want to tell the same story over and over and over, so I'm going to tell a little bit of a different one. But just to summarize that one, we actually have a story that talks about kind of a dam, like an ice dam, that Coyote had to go and fight some witches in order to make sure that dam came down. And when the dam came down, it freed all the salmon to come up into this entire area. And then shortly after that, decided that he wanted a Coeur d'Alene wife in payment of that, but couldn't get it. And lo and behold, as punishment, he built these falls right here so that salmon couldn't swim all the way up to our beloved lake up there. And so, so this story maybe is not, directly related to the water and how it was created, but certainly embedded in all these stories is this concept of water in a really reverent way. I think oftentimes we don't necessarily pay homage to water the way that we ought to. In the Coeur d'Alene culture, we look at water as something not just, we talk about it as being something for our lives and our livelihood. That's true. But we also have looked at it for thousands of years as something that's spiritual, something that is alive and unique, and that we should respect it for its own existence. And so I think that's important. And so the story that I'm going to tell is maybe a little bit more lighthearted than that. It's actually we refer to it as the story between the land people and the water people. And it really started a long, long time ago. There was a chief. And the chief had a young daughter, but yet the daughter was coming of age, and she was ready to be married. And the chief announced, "I'm going to give my daughter away in marriage," and called all the people, the land people, the water people, so that he could tell them what the parameters of this marriage was going to be. And so when all the animals arrived, they got there, and the chief told them, "I'm going to grab this elk antler," and he grabbed this big, gigantic elk antler. And he said, "Anybody who can break this elk antler will be able to marry my daughter and have her as a wife." And the daughter was very coveted. She was very beautiful. And so everybody wanted it. And immediately Coyote said, "It'll be my first son. It'll be my oldest son. He will break it and he will have her in marriage." And Grizzly Bear immediately interrupted Coyote, and he said, "Oh, no, I will break it, and I will take the woman, the girl, and she will be my wife." And before Coyote could grab it, Grizzly Bear reached up and grabbed the antler. And when he did, he pulled on it and he pushed on it, he tugged on it, used all of his strength, all of his muscles to try to figure out how to get leverage in order to break this gigantic elk antler. And he could not do it. The elk antler was too strong. And so Coyote grabbed it and handed it to his son. And his son did the same. Grabbed on it, pulled on it, tugged on it, and could not break it. And then Wolf grabbed it and said, "I will do it. I will take it on." And at that time, Wolf was bigger than the wolf that we know today. He was a man-eater. He was known as a man-eater. And he grabbed on that antler and he pulled on it, he tugged it, tried to find leverage to figure out how to break this antler, and he couldn't. And one by one, all the land animals tried, and all of them failed. And all at once, the water people said, let us try, it's our turn now. But at that time, there was great tension between the land peoples and the water peoples. And the land peoples scoffed. They said, you guys can't do anything. You guys are weaker than we are. There's no way that you can break it. And sure enough, Trout grabbed the antler and Trout could not break it. He tried his hardest but could not make it happen. And one by one, each of the water peoples, Frog, Snake, all these water peoples ended up trying and they could not do it. They could not break that antler. And so the chief said, he announced to them, said, okay, everybody go home. You guys think about how you can break this antler and then you guys come back tomorrow. And so everybody went home and the next day they all showed up. And again, each one of them tried using all their might, all their wit to try to figure out how to break this antler. And none of them could do that. But somebody noticed that Salmon had not shown up. He had not shown up the first day. He had not shown up the second day. And so as the water people returned to their villages that night, somebody got a hold of Salmon and said, Salmon, you should come. Now, Salmon is always concerned about having enough water. He gets out of the water too much, he starts to get dry, can't handle that very well. And so he says, well, I'm not sure about that. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll show up tomorrow. And so the next day, all the animals showed up. And sure enough, Salmon came along as well. And when they got there, every one of the animals, all the land animals, tried again to break that antler, and they could not do it. And then all the water peoples, one by one, tried to break the antler, and they could not break the antler. And finally, somebody said, let Salmon try. Salmon, you try. And so Salmon grabbed the antler, and as we all know, Salmon is very oily, and he took some of his oil and he rubbed it right on the curve of the antler, and he did his best to break it, and it did bend. It started to bend but didn't break. And then he handed it to his next relative, his next salmon relative, and the next salmon relative rubbed more of his salmon oil on it, and it bent even more and almost broke. And they finally gave it to the youngest salmon, and that salmon also put oil on it. And when he did, he smashed that elk antler all to pieces. And immediately, all of the land animals, all the land peoples became enraged. They were upset. In their minds, there was no way that a water person could outdo them. And everybody understood what was about to happen. And Salmon, the young salmon who broke the elk antler, grabbed his woman, and they took off running for the water as fast as they possibly could. And war broke out. And as war broke out, people started to fight and go after the salmons. And the older salmon took and laid his life down in order to protect the younger salmon. And each salmon did that until they got to the water. But right before they got to the water, right before the young salmon got to the water with his wife, the land animals caught up to him and started to beat on him. But the other water animals that were still in the water came out and they shot their arrows at the land animals and were able to fend them off for quite some time, shooting at them. And Frog started to mock the land animals and said, you can't shoot me in the water. Even if you aim ahead of me, you'll never get me. And immediately the land animals raised up their bows and they shot and they killed Frog. And Snake said, you can't get me. I whine too much. You'll miss me. I'll go left and right and you won't be able to get me. And the land animals shot up Snake all over the place. But it was enough time in order for the young salmon to get away with his wife. They jumped into the water and they started to go downstream. So the land animals became enraged, especially Wolf. He was so angry. And so he signaled down the river, and he said to Rattlesnake, who was out there, he said, hey, they're coming down, do something. So Rattlesnake built a weir, and he waited, and he waited, and waited, and finally Salmon showed up right there in the weir and got trapped. And so Snake reached out his bow and his arrow, he aimed it at Salmon, shot Salmon right in the head. And that's why today there's a little mark right on the forehead of Salmon, is because of the arrow that was shot into him. And Salmon died. The woman was taken and ultimately placed with Wolf. But what happened later on then was Mouse and Mink both felt sorry for Salmon. And so they looked amongst all the remains of all the animals that had died that day. And they finally eventually found the remains of the young salmon, and they put fish oil all over him. They stepped over him 3 times. And in doing so, they brought him back to life. And oh, Salmon was so angry. He was so enraged. He was ready for revenge on Rattlesnake. He wanted to take Rattlesnake down. And so he pondered for 2 days. He thought about it, wondered, how am I going to get revenge? And then he said, okay, I'm just going to go up there and I'm going to take care of it. And so he went upstream all the way up to where Rattlesnake lived, and he entered the lodge of Rattlesnake. And when he did, he could hear Rattlesnake was singing the powwow songs and singing power songs and songs of strength and victory over Salmon. And so he walked into the lodge, and when he did, Rattlesnake saw him walk into the lodge. And oh, he was terrified with fear that Salmon was now in his lodge. And then he pretended like he was crying instead. He said, oh, Salmon, I've been so sad since I heard that you passed away. I'm so sad. But Salmon was angry. He didn't accept what Rattlesnake had said to him. And he said, well, listen, Rattlesnake, I'm just here to grab some fire so that I can go and burn some pitch and fix my canoe. And Rattlesnake said, oh yeah, go ahead, take some fire. And so Salmon grabbed the fire, Rattlesnake's fire, and he went outside. And as soon as he got out there, he lit fire to the lodge of Rattlesnake and burned and killed Rattlesnake. And when he did, he began to walk, and he was sad because he didn't know what had happened to his wife. And as he walked, he ended up stepping on a stick. And when he stepped on a stick and it broke, Meadowlark screamed out in pain, you broke my leg, you broke my leg. And oh, he said, Salmon, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you had it right there in the pathway. I didn't realize that was your leg. I thought it was a stick. And so he got down and repaired Meadowlark's leg. And Meadowlark said, I know who you're looking for. I know where your wife is at. I'll take you to her. She's in Wolf's Lodge. I'll take you there. And so she took Salmon to the Wolf's Lodge. And when they got there, they realized that there was nobody there except another Meadowlark that was standing guard. And so he ended up killing the other Meadowlark, and he placed himself on top of the lodge, waiting for the wolves to show up. And finally, eventually, the wolves did show up. And when they began to enter the lodge, Salmon jumped on them and killed them, each one of them, one at a time, until just the last wolf was left. And he wasn't able to get the wolf, but what he did do was get back into the lodge, and he was able to free his wife. And he fled out of the lodge, and they went as fast as they could all the way back to his village. And when they finally got back to Salmon's village, they all had a council because they understood how mean and powerful and big and large Wolf was. And so they said, how are we going to take care of Wolf? He's a man-eater. He'll kill all of us. There's no way we can handle this. And so 2 of the chiefs that were there talked amongst each other, and they said, listen, we have a plan. We're going to leave. We're going to go out. They were very jolly, very, very chubby, very fat chiefs. And they said, we're going to go out. And when we go out hunting, we're going to go and get an elk, but we're going to entice, because we're so big, we're going to entice Wolf to follow us. And so they did. They left the village, and when Wolf got there, he could smell them. He said, oh, the big fish are here. The big fish are here. And he started to track them and track them and track them. And he finally came to the edge of a clearing where there they were, the chiefs, and they had their backs. They were sitting with their backs backs to Wolf. And they had just killed a big elk, and they were both sitting down, and they were eating that elk. And oh, Wolf was so excited. This was his chance. He was going to do it. And he started to sneak up as quietly as he could on the salmon chiefs that were right there. And as they got closer and closer and closer, one of the salmon chiefs could hear the wolf coming, and he started to get scared. He started to talk to the other chief, get ready, he's coming. And the other salmon chief told him, don't worry about that. It's okay. Just be quiet and keep eating. And as Wolf got closer, he got closer, and just right as he was getting ready to spring on one of the chiefs, the other chief got up, hit him with his bow and his arrow, knocked him over the cliff that they were standing by, and Wolf ended up falling to his death. And that's why also that wolf is not as big and as large as he once was, and he's no longer a man-eater. The end. Thank you.
What a story. Well, thank you, everyone, and especially thank our readers, and we will move on.
All right. Thank you to our authors, our readers. I'd like to take a minute before I go over trivia, the moment you have all been waiting for, to recognize a couple special people in the room, if they're still here. The Riverkeeper's been around for about 15 years. Is that right? And the person that started it, or one of the people that started it, is in the room, Rick Eichsted, Spokane Riverkeeper. Thanks, Rick. He hired me too, so appreciate it. Back in the day. And then the previous Riverkeeper, Jerry White Jr., right over here. Thank you so much for all you've done for our river and the Riverkeeper, guys. Okay, so trivia. I'll go over the answers first, and then we'll talk about who won. Okay. So number one, the question about the fish before dams blocked their return. Steelhead migrated from the Spokane River to the Pacific Ocean. Some of their ancestors remain. This iconic river fish, Spokane River fish, is the red band trout. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Okay, the reason water temperature drops in our river from Barker Road to Plants Ferry is because of what geological feature? The aquifer. Fun fact, at Harvard Road, we measured 82.5 degrees Fahrenheit this year. The same time it was 50 degrees downstream, 58 degrees downstream. So big difference there. As you probably know, the Riverkeeper removed 60,000 pounds of trash this year from the Spokane River and still going. So that's quite an accomplishment, Liv. Thank you. When the Spokane River drops below 1,000 cubic feet per second, how many times are you allowed to water your lawn per week? Never. I like it. 2 days per week. And that's cool because we have a trigger that uses the river flow that recognizes that connection between the aquifer and our river flow. Okay, the Spokane River originates from Lake Coeur d'Alene, which translates from French to heart of an all. There we go, heart of the all. All right, number 6 is, I actually didn't know this, embarrassingly enough, but Ribby is named after, is short for RBI, or I would say slang for RBIs. Devil's Toenail and Bowl and Pitcher are class 3 rapids. Is that right? Yes, got that. Did we miss number 9?
No.
Which of these are not a Spokane River sponsor?
Missed number 8.
Oh, I missed number 8. Thank you. So we banned phosphorus in 2008. It was pretty cool that we did that, and for the health of the river, because that causes algae blooms and whatnot. So Exxon, I hope you guys got this one right. Exxon Mobil is not a sponsor. Okay, and this summer we had local tribal and non-tribal paddlers canoed all the way from Little Falls to Kettle Falls. That was a pretty cool journey. We got to join them for one night and 2 days. The Grand Coulee Dam creates Lake Roosevelt, named after FDR, right? Yeah, yes, very good. Okay, so in the last question, which will be answered by Dave Jackson himself, this is the tiebreaker. What? Come on, we're going to announce it. How many times did this is the tiebreaker. How many times did Dave Jackson float the river in the last 5 years?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Jerry, for getting me hooked on this obsession. But it's the answer is 701 floats in an inner tube in my t-shirt and shorts with the earliest being March 17th this year, and the latest being December 22nd. 2 years ago, 701 total in 5 years.
Wow. Incredible. Okay, so the winner who got a perfect score, they need to get a perfect score, and then closest to that 701 was table number 17. Where are you? Cool. Good job. And and afterwards, you can come over here for your prize, which is a shirt. Don't be jealous. You can come to the Spokane Riverkeeper's office and buy these shirts anytime. Okay. Interestingly, the closest to the correct tiebreaker answer was table number 2, who got 767. They did not get all 11 answers correct, though. So I don't know which one they got wrong. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was fun. All right. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Thank you all for joining us here tonight. We hope you've had a great time. Before we leave, we want to make sure we thank some of our special guests and people in the room here. So thank you to our guest speakers, our storytellers and artists. Big thank you to all of our event sponsors and the donors for our auction. We truly couldn't do this without all of you supporting our work and helping us make this event happen. And thank you to our incredible in-kind partners that helped us really make this thing happen. Aaron Nippon from Cutboard Studios, Deanna Camp of Camp Creative, Josh Abel of Imaginary Trout, Hamilton Studios for generously hosting Spoken River during pandemic years, Numerica for all of these wonderful volunteers, our photographer Joni Scott and my mother, our wonderful musicians who played for us this morning, the live painter Kirsten Stovey back there working on her painting, our Spoken River Committee, and of course our Spoken River Board. And of course, we'd love to thank you all for joining us here today and helping us support our mission. Lem Lemch, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us all. We hope you have a great rest of your evening and get home safe.
Drive safe, everyone. Thank you so much.